Did we buy a swamp? Hi everybody. So it's been a week.
Yes.
It's been quite a week. We've sort of shown you a couple of projects that we've done in the last couple of videos, and did exploring, which I think you guys seem to enjoy. I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed going and sort of seeing what plants we have and what trees we have and things like that. And sorry, Remy's being a little rambunctious right now, so forgive us if we're
If you see some paws flying back and forth.
He is trying to chew us,
Sort of.
So we've done a couple of projects in between. We sort of focused on those in videos. But we have been doing some clearing, and I'll drop footage of that over what we do. So we've accomplished quite a lot. So a lot of people have been asking quite a few questions. Sure. Sorry, Remy got a little bit too much. Now he's focused on himself, so that's good. So we've done a couple of projects. We have done some clearing, and we'll drop some of that footage here. We've done quite a bit of clearing. So basically the idea is that we have about 600 meters of roadway that we want to clear to the spot that we've sort of chosen for where we would like to build and sort of set up mainly. So there's quite a lot of that to do. Fortunately, it's pretty new growth, so it's relatively small trees. But at the same time, we also, have to start planting. So today we took just a few of our plants that we are sort of calling sacrificial plants, and we put some in the greenhouse and some just in a spot that we've been clearing outside of the greenhouse.
And it's 2 peppers and 2 tomato plants.
Yes. Actually, it's 3 of each.
That's right.
Yeah, I bought 3. So we'll see how those go. I do want to get some seeds in, but we're now fighting black flies, as you may have seen, and we discovered that the wonderful nets that we bought, which will keep things away from your face when you're working out there, attract black flies because they're dark.
Yeah.
So we need lighter colored stuff. So we're working on that. But so that's been a bit hard, and we actually have been hit with quite a heat wave.
Yeah, it's a little hotter than I'm used to in Ontario at this time of year. I'm used to it being pretty summery already by this point. We've just had the May 2-4 weekend, so that's usually like a pretty decent weather weekend, but it's a bit hot right now.
27. When we got back to the camper the day before yesterday, it was 33 in here.
Yeah.
And we had the windows open because where we're parked right now, there's a lot of wind. Like there's a breeze that goes through like pretty much constantly. It's actually stopped us from putting like an awning or anything out to have shade outside, besides the bugs, because we don't want to be at the bugs. But it's just too windy to sustain anything like that.
And we have air conditioning in here too.
Thank heavens.
Yeah, that's been really nice.
So it has been
especially
nice.
considering that hello Remy.
Hi Remy.
Our homes in Calgary, bless you. We did not have air conditioning, so we were used to living in hotter stuff. Can you maybe get down,
sit down
a little bit?
There you go.
We're not used to actually having that as a luxury for us in our home, so this was kind of a nice plus that we've got that in here. But even the flies were horrible last night. I ended up spraying Muskol on the outside of the camper around the windows because they were just covering the camper. So, and that actually did work. It's
you can't really see them now. There's a couple there, but not as many. But it was insane. It really is insane.
And again, this isn't, black flies aren't a shock to us. We knew that was there, and I'm used to cottage country in Ontario, so I've dealt with them before. But even at that, these are pretty intense here. I know what they're like when they swarm and that sort of thing. I've been through it before, so they themselves are not coming as a surprise at all here, but the level of how much they're swarming us is more than I've seen before.
But I mean, in fairness, we were talking about this last night because we were being swamped. But we are the only sort of thing around here that they could potentially be attracted to. So, and they like the dark of the windows and things like that. So, I discovered that like most of my wardrobe is dark.
Yeah, I have a lot.
I have a lot of
lighter
dark
stuff, but it's not really doing a whole lot regardless. I mean, I think
really
I think there's so many of them. It really doesn't make a difference what you've got on, what you spray around. There's just so many of them that's it. And actually, there was a comment in our last video mentioning the black flies and just saying how they're pretty much like we just have to grin and bear it until dragonflies come out in a month and a bit.
And well, good thing is we did see one dragonfly, and it's going to get rid of the entire population.
I hope so.
That's the plan. So, so it has certainly been a bit of a challenge this week doing some clearing, and because of the heat, we guys, we're pacing ourselves. We're not, we do have deadlines and we do have projects, and we've listed out all the things that we want to accomplish, but we are not like 8 hours a day getting out there. It's just crazy. When we feel fatigued or when we feel tired, we are taking out breaks. We take short breaks when we're there for water. We take longer breaks, or we just come back. There's you get to a certain point where you got sweat going in your eyes and all that kind of stuff. You're just like, I can't do this anymore.
And we're also kind of monitoring the dog too. Like we really don't want to. And they do sort of swarm around him, but they haven't been too bad or anything. But you don't want him getting bitten or anything like that. And
I mean, he's quite excitable too. So that does mean it's quite a challenge to focus on what we're doing, because we're constantly worried that he's getting himself tangled or going to injure himself somehow, because he's just so rambunctious and excitable, and things like that. So let's just quickly, a couple of things. I want to just give a big shout out. Thank you so much. Someone went to our wish list on Amazon and sent us an item from there to help with our solar issues, which I'm still delving into, because I think that our solar issue might actually be that our batteries are just not holding enough charge.
This is quite possible.
But someone was very generous and went and purchased the charge controller from our wish list, and that arrived. So thank you very much to you. You know who you are. And if you'd like to buy something from our Amazon wish list, that link is down below in the comment section or on the about section of our page. And before we talk about the swamp issue, let's just remind you guys, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe, and don't forget to turn on the notifications if you haven't, so that you know when we post our next video. So one of the cool things we did see this week was sitting on the couch after coming back from the property. All the windows were open, and the door was open for a nice cool breeze, and looking out at the road, and we saw a fox and just basically sauntered by. It looks like he's limping a little bit, but it looks to be like a red fox, which is what the most common fox is here in Northern Ontario. So that was pretty cool.
I still think that's debatable.
Yes, well, I mean, there's three kinds of foxes, but
I thought his tail was a bit darker.
Yeah, but it was hard to see, and unfortunately, the footage wasn't great. We clamored for cameras. My camera was filming a sunset at the time, and
I was running to find mine and just get it lined up.
Just get what we could as quickly as we could. So there's a little bit of footage of that fox, but hopefully we'll see him again. But they are quite common around here. So. All right, let's talk about the swamp. So
it's not really a swamp.
It's not really a swamp.
We are being dramatic.
It sounds very dramatic, but it does feel sometimes like it's a swamp.
At points, yes.
So when we were clearing, there's a part there where there's a sort of great big puddle, and there's a number of these big puddles down where we're clearing. And we know that because it was a winter logging road, so heavy equipment went down there in the winter, it's compacted some of the soil, and some of it's going to be sort of looser and that kind of stuff. And it is a long time ago. So there are areas where a lot of this water is pooling, and we actually tried to drain some of it. And I've got a short time lapse of that sort of draining out. Now, the downside of that, of course, is that, you know, it makes it feel like a swamp, and there's a lot of mud and stuff like that, and there is clay underneath that. But that can be a bit tricky to deal with. So we are working on trying to find ways to drain some of that excess water.
There is also a point of, as we clear, I mean, there are, so for an example, on the way when we're walking into our property, there was a bit of a patch.
Sorry, that was Remy, not an earthquake.
There's a bit of a patch there that's that was quite murky, deep puddles, like coming up to your ankles kind of puddles and that sort of thing.
And there's subsiding.
And it was very much sort of water trapped in there, and that was never a pleasant area to cross through.
No.
As we've been going in more frequently, I've certainly, and you'll have been noticing, and the dog has been noticing too, there's a lot of drying up that's going on there. And that space there in particular is, there's not a lot of trees around it. It's open. So I'm feeling that we will be experiencing more of that as we're clearing, because it gives it more of a chance for the sun to get in there and for stuff to evaporate and whatever else. So that's one aspect of how water is going to get out of there.
We did set up a little a tarp to give us some shade that lasted a few hours. And then today we sort of took down one side of it because it was a cheap tarp, and it's obviously not heavy duty. It must have been a light duty one. But it basically literally is like tearing the rings out that you're supposed to tie this thing down with. So we sort of gave up on that. We have cleared a small little sort of garden area just outside of the greenhouse. I have to do a map at some point, and I will do a map at some point to show everyone what we're talking about and where we're talking about on the property, so they know what we're on about. But yeah, I mean, like it's there's a lot of progress. It sometimes feels like insurmountable because it's so, like, it's crazy hot. And I think what a lot of people don't realize as well is, like, before we even get to clear, like before we even get into clear, we've already traipsed, 800 feet, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's not like you're walking on a road and you're walking 800 feet. It's, going cross country, to go in there.
Now, that, I can call it a pathway now. Has become easier as time has gone on, because we've been coming and going, and we're taking the same sort of route in there. There is a pathway that's opened up for us, so we're not kind of like that. The first couple of times there was a lot of sort of growth that we were breaking through and trying to navigate around, and so it's not as bad as it was coming and going. Having said that, though, it's still a trek to get in.
It really is, especially if you're carrying stuff, right? Like, I mean, you're carrying equipment, we're carrying the cameras, we're carrying water for the dog and that kind of stuff, water for us.
Well, and, I mean, we were initially, I mean, now we've got that greenhouse set up so we can store some things there, but I mean, we were initially carrying in and out things like the chainsaw and stuff like that, big shovels and whatever, which again, it's not a huge thing in general, but when you're kind of going up and down and around and whatever else, it starts to kind of feel like you're weighted down a bit. And so, by the time you get there, you're kind of already ready for a bit of a break and a relax.
And I think, and I mean, so that does make it hard, especially when it's so warm. Like it's really hard. So people are going to ask about clearing that path in, which is basically what we're waiting for to get the camper in. So we are applying for a permit for that with the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry and Development, or Ministry of Development, natural resources and forestry, or whatever acronym it is, something like that, because it is Crown land, and we are wanting to create a drivable path or driveway in there, and that does require a permit. So we are applying for that.
But for right now, should say the permit applies to essentially just clearing a path. It's not, we're not putting in a gravel roadway or anything like that. Down the road, we will definitely be looking into the legalities and all of that sort of thing. We're not going to do anything until we're for sure about it. But
once we're in, we're just trying to get in, right? Yeah. So once we're in, and once we're established, once we're set, and once we've got some capital behind us, we want to put in a road. We don't want to put in a 4-lane highway. We're not trying to compete with the 401 or make it a toll road or anything like that. It's just got to be a drivable path for us right now. Yeah. And yes, ultimately we would like it to be at least graveled, or actually very similar. We'd love it to be the same as the road driving in here, because what seems to happen is that once the rain's gone, the road's dry. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't seem to wash away or anything like that. Yeah. It's fantastic. So, if we could recreate that, that'd be awesome. So that is the ultimate goal, but really right now it's just simply like we want to be able to get in and out. Yeah. And that's all it is. So anyway, guys, I think that's probably about enough for today. I'm sure you guys are tired of listening to us drone on. In case you haven't seen notifications for it yet, you will soon, but we're going to do a live stream this coming Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So please check that link out below, and if you go to that link, you can set up your YouTube account to notify you when that live starts, so that you don't forget. And of course, we are not going to stop reminding you. So until the next video, guys, thank you again so much for watching, and thank you for all your support. Have a good one.